mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says a positive inner calm, a strong will, and a great steadiness are necessary for success in the spiritual life. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo Savitri, Book 1, Canto 4, The Secret Knowledge. An outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and birds. In its unshaken grasp, it keeps for us safe the one inevitable supreme result. No will can take away and no doom change. The crown of conscious immortality, the Godhead promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life. Darshan Day message by our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother stated in the year 1958 on 21st February, our Divine Mother says, to celebrate the birth of a transitory body can satisfy some faithful feelings. To celebrate the manifestation of the eternal consciousness can be done at every moment of the universal history. But to celebrate the advent of a new world, the supramental world, is a marvelous and exceptional privilege. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo on the Mother. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo states, the Mother's consciousness is the divine consciousness, and the light that comes from it is the light of the divine truth. One who receives and accepts and lives in the Divine Mother's light will begin to see the truth on all planes, the mental, the vital, the physical. He will reject all that is undivine. The undivine is the falsehood, the ignorance, the error of the dark forces. The undivine is all that is obscure and unwilling to accept the divine truth and its light and force. The undivine, therefore, is all that is unwilling to accept the light and force of the Divine Mother. That is why I am always telling you to keep in contact with the Divine Mother and her light and force, because it is only so that you can come out of this confusion and obscurity and receive the truth that comes from above. When we speak of the Divine Mother's light or of my light, in a special sense, we are speaking of a special occult action. We are speaking of certain lights that come from the supermind. In this action, the Mother's is the white light that purifies, illumines, brings down the whole essence and power of the truth and makes the transformation possible. But in fact, all light that comes from above, from the highest divine truth, is the Divine Mother's. There is no difference between the Mother's path and mine. We have and always had the same path that leads to the supramental change, the divine realization, not only at the end, but from the beginning they have been the same, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, SABCL, book on himself, topic The Master and the Guide from section 5, subtopic The Outer Guidance and the Inner Health, page 184. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the outer guidance is meant only as an aid to the inner working, especially for the correction of any erroneous moment, and sometimes in order to point out the right road. It is not meant except at a very early stage to satisfy mental questionings or to stimulate a mental activity. What I write usually helps only the mind, and that too very little. For people do not really understand what I write, they put their own constructions on it. The inner help is quite different, and there can be no confusion with it, for it reaches the substance of the consciousness, not the mind only, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, Sri Aurobindo's touch. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, my touch is always there. My touch is always there, but you must learn to feel it not only with the outward contact as a medium, a touch of the pen, but in its direct action on the mind and heart and vital and body. There would be then be very much less difficulty or no difficulty at all. Dated 27th March 1933. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the outward touch is helpful, but the inward is still more helpful when one is accustomed to receive it with a certain concreteness, and the outward touch is not always fully possible, while the inward can be there all the time, says our Lord. Next subtopic, Sri Aurobindo's compassion. Question, why is the flower symbolizing your compassion so delicate, and why does it wither away so soon? For this our Lord says, no, the compassion does not wither with its symbol. Flowers are the moments, representations of things that are in themselves eternal. Date 9th August 1936. Next subtopic, spiritual change and the school master method. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I never point out to anybody his defects unless he gives me the occasion. A sadhak must become conscious and lay himself before the light, see and reject and change. It is not the right method for us to interfere and lecture and point out this and point out that. That is the schoolmaster method. It doesn't work in the spiritual change. Date 10th May 1936. Next subtopic, shutting up doors against help. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I am not aware of refusing help, but to receive the help is also necessary. When you are in this condition, you seem at once to shut yourself against those from whom you seek help by a spirit of bitterness and anger. That is not an attitude which makes it easy to receive or be conscious, and it is not easy either for the help to be effective. All I can do, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo, all I can do is to send you the force that, if received, would help you to change your condition. It is what I have always done. But it cannot act effectively, or at least not at once, if the doors are shut against it. Date 23rd May 1936. Next subtopic, Sri Krishna and correspondence. Question, Sri Krishna must have had more leisure than you have. In those days, the art of writing had not been developed so much, and so he had not to reply to questions, though sometimes he had sudden calls, as when Durvasa came with a host of thousands of disciples asking for food when there was not a morsel. Perhaps Sri Krishna had to perform more miracles than you have to, though I should not forget that constant calls must be coming to you also for help in illness and many other ways. Moreover, Sri Krishna never actually became a guru of several people. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, well, he may have been rather wise in that and fortunate in the infrequency of correspondence in those days, but that did not save him. There is a poignant chapter in the Mahabharata describing his miseries and bothers with his people in Dwaraka, which is very illuminating. Unfortunately, I have forgotten where it is. The cause doesn't matter much, for putting the force is a subjective thing which does not take time except in cases when it is a daily or frequently recurring difficulty. As for Durvasa, if he turned up, it would be met by an order to X go and manage, or else an intimation to Durvasa not to be unreasonable. Date 4th September 1936. Next subtopic, Sri Aurobindo's light. Sri Aurobindo's light is not the light of the illumined mind. It is the divine illumination which may act on any plane. Question, 2 days back in a dream, I saw Sri Aurobindo coming towards me. His body and dress were of blue color. Why did I see him in this color, not any other? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is the basic light Sri Aurobindo manifests. If it is pale blue, it may be my color. Pale lavender blue, pale but very brilliant in its own shade. It signifies, or its significance depends on the shade of the blue. Ordinary pale blue is usually the light of the illumined mind or something of the intuition. Whitish blue is Sri Aurobindo's light or Sri Krishna's light. There are many blues and it is difficult to say which these are. Usually the deeper blue is higher mind, a paler blue is illumined, whitish blue Sri Krishna's light, also called Sri Aurobindo's light. The different blues means different forces. The real blue has nothing to do with poison. The whitish blue is specially called my light, but it does not mean that that alone can come from me. Question. Nowadays I see Sri Aurobindo's light for most of the time, but in different forms, sometimes like a big star, sometimes like a moon, sometimes like a flash of light. Why do I not see it in the same form? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it varies according to the circumstances. Why should it always be the same? Question. How can I receive Sri Aurobindo's light in the mind? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it can always come if you aspire patiently, but the basic condition, if you want that light, is to get rid of all mental influences. Question. What is the meaning of to get rid of all mental influences? Is it this that I had better not read any other books except Sri Aurobindo, or not try to learn anything by hearing or admiring others? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is not a question of books or learning facts. When a woman loves or admires, her mind is instinctively molded by the one she loves or admires, and this influence remains after the feeling itself has gone or appears to be gone. This does not refer to X influence merely. It is the general rule given to keep yourself free from any other admiration or influence. Question. As one approaches your photograph in the reception room, there is a feeling that it is an emanation of yours. There seems to be a special light in it. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, the sadhaks may themselves bring this light by approaching me through the photo. Some visions of Sri Aurobindo. Question. I looked at your photograph in the reception room after meditation and clearly saw the portrait move its shoulders as if breathing. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, there was a moment in the vital plane and you opened to an inner vision of it. Question. As I was sitting in a prayer, I saw Sri Aurobindo in a vision coming down the staircase till he came just near to the floor. What does this mean? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it indicates perhaps the bringing of the divine consciousness down from level to level till it is now near the material. Question. Today, while meditating, I saw a vision that in Sri Aurobindo's light, Nataraja Shiva was manifesting with many hands. What does this signify? Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is the sign of manifestation. Question. Then I saw that in the sky Sri Aurobindo's light and red light were manifesting in the form of a globe. Does this signify the manifestation of Sri Aurobindo's divine light on the physical plane? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, yes. Question. Then I saw that Sri Aurobindo's light was manifesting on a sea along with another light of pale blue color. Does this mean that in the vastness of consciousness, Sri Aurobindo's divine light is manifesting through the intuitive mind consciousness? For this, Sri Aurobindo says yes. Question. I saw Sri Aurobindo last night in a vision, seated on a chair, writing something. Behind his head there was a circular green light. What does this mean? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the green light is that of a dynamic vital energy of work. As I was writing at work, it is natural that that light should be behind my head. Question. Last night, I had a dream that you had come out of your seclusion for once. You were tall, quite young, but very dark. I began to wonder if this was Sri Aurobindo of former years. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, no, it is not likely. It is probable some subtle physical form, that one corresponding to the Shiva element in me. I have seen myself like that sometimes, and it always is the Shiva formation. Next topic. The August 15th Darshan. Question. X told me that only 10 days were left for the August 15th darshan. I replied that every day should be considered as the 15th. For this, our Lord says, this is the right attitude. Every day should be regarded as a day when a descent may take place or a contact established with a higher consciousness. Then the 15th itself would be more successful. Date 4th August 1934. Question. During the darshan, instead of ananda, force or light, I felt a great dryness. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it depends upon your condition whether the ananda or the force or light descends or whether the resistance rises. It is the resistance of the ordinary physical consciousness, ignorant and obscure, that seems to have arisen in you. The period of 15th is a period of great descents, but also of great resistances. This 15th was not an exception. Next subtopic, evaporation of an experience after darshan. Question. When I came for your darshan, it seemed as if it was Shiva himself I was seeing. I felt the ananda too. The consciousness of these things remained for 2 or 3 days and then as if evaporated. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, there is no reason to be discouraged by what you call the evaporation of consciousness that you got on the darshan day. It has not evaporated but drawn back from the surface. That usually happens when there is not the higher consciousness or some experience. What you have to learn is not to allow depression, but remain quiet, allowing time for the assimilation and ready for fresh experience or growth whenever it comes. Use of Sri Aurobindo's force. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, certainly my force is not limited to the ashram and its conditions. As you know, it is being largely used for helping the right development of the war and of change in the human world. It is also used for individual purposes outside the scope of the ashram and the practice of yoga. But that, of course, is silently done mainly by spiritual action. The ashram, however, remains at the center of the work. Without the practice of yoga, the work would not exist and could not have any meaning or fruition, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.